At last year's concerts, I had reported that 2/3 of our orchestras were showing deficits, and I'm very happy to report that a year later that figure is down by less than half. And this is good news, and it reflects improving fiscal management. Closer, okay. Can you hear me now? Okay, good. So, but orchestras have been facing long-term challenges that we know were exacerbated by this recession, but not ultimately caused by it. And the long-term declines that we've been seeing both in philanthropy and in attendance have continued. Clearly, there is still plenty of hard work to do, and this is not the time to take your foot off the gas pedal. We must keep moving forward, and that means actively embracing and promoting change in our organizations. We began this conference with a presentation from our new friends in the auto industry who made it clear that in their world, management and labor agreed on a powerful and unifying goal to meet consumer demands for better and more competitive cars. And while there were plenty of differences and problems that they had to sort out, they made sure that their points of shared belief and common ground prevailed over divisive conversations. We heard how that process became a springboard for the success of the company and its employees. So how can we learn from their experiences in a world that might seem quite remote from the performing arts? What higher goals can bind our musicians and managements and boards together so much that they can effectively work through their sometimes competing interests? Last year, I had proposed 3 types of action that are required in orchestras to achieve future sustainability. Those actions were and remain strengthening fiscal infrastructure and planning, realignment with community needs, and fostering creativity. And just as our friends in the auto industry join together, so do we need to include all of our stakeholders, our musicians, staffs, boards, and volunteers in working toward these goals. And the League, over the past year, has been working hard to find ways to help our members move forward on these priorities. In the face of the great financial strain many of our members were experiencing last year, we developed with the Technical Development Corporation the new SMART tool. And SMART stands for Strategy and Money Alignment Readiness Tool, which gives orchestras a new way to anticipate and plan for both risk and for opportunity. And so far, 10 orchestras have piloted this tool, and I'm encouraged that 40 more have signed on to use it in the coming months. The League has continued to grow an online governance center designed specifically to give orchestras the knowledge and the support that will help them play an effective role in the leadership of their orchestras, from disciplined financial management to developing with their staffs and stakeholders a compelling vision for their futures. In another step forward, we're creating a new conductor seminar together with Robert Spano and the Atlanta Symphony. And that will help emerging conductors bring a wider range of creative expression and thinking across their orchestra organizations. And we've published a new music director search seminar handbook, updated to reflect the new requirements and roles of music directors today. These initiatives will help orchestras make progress in strengthening their financial positions and in nurturing our art form. But during the past year, we've also seen increasing urgency around that third imperative, the challenge to realign with community needs, and this deserves really special attention today. I've titled this speech, Walk the Walk and Talk the Talk. A very overly used cliche, I know, but it happens to describe exactly the conversation that we need to have. To set the scene, I want to share with you a conversation I had in Washington with a very high-level government official who influences large amounts of arts dollars. As I entered the office, before I could sit down, I was confronted with the following opening statement. What is wrong with your members? With 10% unemployment, they go out on strike for more money. Your CEOs are all overpaid and your audiences are all white. Well, that was some conversation starter. I think I said something like, and a good morning to you too. Can I sit down now? I won't take you through the whole episode, but in case anyone was wondering how we're perceived in high places these days, this should leave no doubt. And by the way, that was not the first time we've heard these concerns from influential people, and even uninfluential people. I'll tell you a brief anecdote. I can't resist sharing this because it's so poignant. And this is, I'm going to report a verbatim conversation I had with a cab driver 2 days ago. I get into a cab in the front of the hotel, and I say, I'd like to go to the Meyerson Center. The driver was a young African-American guy, maybe 25. And he said, is there a concert? And I said, well, not now, but you know, there's a big convention going on of all the orchestras in the country. And I said, are you the conductor? And I said, no, I run the organization. And he said, I love orchestra music. And he pointed to his radio, and he told me the call letters of the station he listens to. I can't remember them, and you know where it was on his dial. He said, I listen all the time. I just love it so much. So I said, well, have you been to the Dallas Symphony? And he said, oh, no. And I said, well, why not? And he said, it's just too expensive. And I said, well, have you looked at their website? Because there's probably a range of prices for seats, and I bet there's something that you could probably afford. And he said, well, you know, even if that was true, I don't have a tuxedo. And this is a problem for us. So whether in high places or, I don't want to say low places, but in everyday places, we have a perception issue. And as we've told you before, debates are heating up on Capitol Hill, where there are serious questions about the continuation of our preferred tax status. We are classified as nonprofit organizations, but a better term might be public benefit organizations. After all, it's the public benefit we provide, it's the quid pro quo for the tax exemption and our eligibility to receive tax-deductible contributions. The League will continue to advance orchestra's position, but my encounter underscored the need to change negative perceptions of our field. In other words, by walking the walk and talking the talk. So I'm going to devote the rest of my remarks to both what it is we do and what it is we say. So when it comes to doing, I'm very pleased to say that our field as a whole is making terrific progress. In many orchestras, I now see musicians and staff addressing questions like, how do we best use our talent and creativity to serve our community? And what partners and allies do we need do we need in order to ensure real value to more of our community? In fact, I believe we are in the midst of a genuine shift in our value proposition. The old proposition was, we deliver great music, performed at the highest level of standard, and you come hear us, we're great. But a new version is emerging, and it's something like, we, orchestra, musicians, staff, volunteers, board, together we can use the unique orchestral experience to meet a wide range of civic needs, and will make our concert experience more accessible to a broader array of our community members. Let me cite a few examples of this proposition value shift. Here's one that shows how just a regular subscription program can provide public benefit and community engagement. This was a Memphis Symphony concert that exemplified what struck me as an absolute nexus of community and artistry. And this was a Memphis Symphony concert. It began with May Ann Chen speaking for, I think, only 60 seconds before the concert started. And this is what she said. She said, I was born in Taiwan. I've lived in America for 10 years, but I just became a citizen. And when I signed the papers, I had to reflect on what being a United States citizen meant to me. She went on, immediately, this big feeling surged up in me, and the feeling was a sense of hopefulness. That's how she defined what was most important to her about being an American citizen, hopefulness. And suddenly, we heard the rest of this superb all-American program through the ears of a new American, defining her relationship to our country. That relationship between new immigrants and our nation is a hugely vital subject today and a matter of great concern to all Americans. Here's a brand new example. This spring, a group of Detroit Symphony Orchestra musicians conceived a project to strengthen music education in Detroit. Collaborating with the DSO management and Save Our Symphony, they created a new summer music festival that will provide workshops for over 140 high school students taught by DSO musicians, and it will culminate in a side-by-side concert in Orchestra Hall and will also feature concerts for Detroit area audiences. Now here's one final illustration, and this one just breaks all of the rules. This is the Brooklyn Philharmonic's Beethoven Remix Project, where they invited local DJs to remix the Eroica Symphony. Now there are three things going on in this, I think. One is we see a bridge to another community of artists and genres. Two, there's an opportunity for those artists to be part of the creative process. And three, there's a potential through this link to expand and re-envision our traditional repertoire. For any of you perhaps horrified by this notion, and I suspect there might be a few, go to the Brooklyn Philharmonic website. You can listen to the remixed works. That may not change your mind, but there's one thing on the website that caught my attention, and you'll see it too. It's a quote from Carl Jung, in which he says that the creative mind plays with the object it loves. These examples demonstrate the wonderful momentum now moving us toward a broader role for orchestras, one that serves both our art form and our communities. As one board member said to me recently, we need to be the souls of our communities. But there's another area where we're not making sufficient progress. Encouraging and embracing diversity with renewed vigor has got to be a priority for the leadership of our orchestras. Let me suggest just one perspective on this very complex subject. As a nation created from the interactions of immigrants with Native Americans and with each other, the United States has made the acceptance of difference a defining value. Our democracy was created to mediate the conflicts that often accompany living this value. Performing artists and arts organizations have a role to play in helping Americans embrace difference. And for me, that starts with the music and the musical experience itself. I believe that diversity is good for orchestral music and the experience of listening to it. The repertoire that we cherish is filled with the influence of different peoples well beyond the borders of Middle Europe. The orchestral repertoire is enriched when talented composers open their ears to the ever-expanding genres that course through America and the world in the 21st century. And I suspect many of us have had that exhilarating concert experience when we feel the excitement of being together in an audience of people who are unfamiliar to us. We also have a responsibility as citizens and as civic institutions to engage with the reality of today's extraordinary diversity. It's no secret that we live in a moment defined by tremendous pressures to divide us, whether by race, by income level, or political persuasion. And we have a choice to make. We can accept this as a condition of our lives today, or we can turn our resources to what we know is the unifying power of music. And I hope that's the choice that we would all want to make. Your boards are the places to begin or strengthen your action. Recently, our board had some very hard and necessary tough conversations with the help of a diversity diagnostic tool from BoardSource. We encourage you to use that or any other tool at the board level to begin clarifying your own orchestra's diversity direction. The League has just introduced on our website a new diversity toolkit for our orchestra members, and this summer we'll be building an online diversity resource center that will include many chronicles of effective practice, and more is coming. For now, I encourage you to visit our website and take advantage of this new toolkit. There is another way that the League can help you walk the walk, and I am very, very pleased to announce today that the Anne and Gordon Getty Foundation has just awarded the League $1.5 million over 3 years to re-grant to you, our members, to support your education and community engagement activity. This is the largest re-granting program the League has ever run, and it aims to give orchestra the resources to help them grow and innovate in this crucial area. The League will capture these experiences and disseminate the results of the funded work. And when you get home on Monday, well, you'll get home before Monday, but on Monday, you can go to our website and you will find more details about application requirements. I should also let you know that this marks the 25th anniversary of the Anne and Gordon Geddes Foundation support of American orchestras. And the support that I just described, this new grant to the League, is over and above the support they have been providing to many of you and your orchestras on an annual basis. So this represents an expansion of their commitment to the orchestra field. And I just have to, it's a funny story I just have to tell. When we started these conversations with Getty, we went back into our files and we looked at the history. And you know that those grants that some of you get, that began 25 years ago, began with a letter to the League saying, we're thinking about supporting the orchestra field and we'd like you to help. And so it's gratifying that 25 years later they have come back to the League and see us as a capable and credible partner in helping to support the orchestra field. That letter was to Kathy French. Kathy, are you here this morning? Did you get up? No, she's in a meeting. She's hunting heads. Okay. Well, I think that providing public benefit is intrinsically good for our communities, for our institutions, our musicians, and our art form. It's also rapidly becoming a practical necessity. So I want to take us now into the talking the talk part. Our language and our messages need to catch up with today's reality. Too much of our language is rooted, oh my gosh. Well, I guess I need to enter the new reality. Anyway, as I was saying, too much of our language is rooted in older definitions of our role and purpose. So if you remember 5 minutes back into my remarks, that board member that I mentioned who said that an orchestra should be the soul of its community, well, guess what? That term is already taken. And here's what I mean. Stephen Tepper is a sociologist at Vanderbilt University, and he's analyzed the language used by various art forms, both commercial and nonprofit, to justify their existence when they experience threats to their survival. Soul and magic are the terms most frequently used by jazz clubs, galleries, and art house cinemas. Nonprofit culture organizations like libraries, radio stations often use the heart metaphor. Destination, Mecca, those were the terms coming out of commercial, popular culture. So what words do orchestras, art museums, opera, ballet, and nonprofit theater use most frequently? Jewels, treasures, and gems. Some of the specific phrases Tepper captured are the crown jewel of museums and the solid gold Cadillac of orchestras. Gold and Cadillacs are symbols of wealth. Crowns, of course, suggest royalty. But I think most of us would agree that these terms and images are not how we think of ourselves, nor how we would like others to think about us. The League has been working hard the past 2 years to develop language and messaging that fits our orchestras for today. We began by researching influential leaders and how they perceive orchestras. And to hone our messaging, we work closely with external partners in the broader nonprofit sector. I want to propose to you an entirely new and perhaps even radical way of defining orchestra's role, a framework that views our role through the lens of service to our communities. This new framework is part of our Public Value Toolkit, which members can go to on our website. You should have these 4 top-level messages at your tables, and I want to read them because they're very different from how we used to think about this before. Number 1, communities want to broaden public access to economic and cultural resources, and orchestras are helping to expand access to music by working collaboratively with more and more diverse communities. Number 2, community health and vitality are urgent public priorities, and orchestras contribute to healthy societies through their increasingly active participation in civic life. And number 3, lifelong learning is essential in the 21st century, and orchestras provide and champion lifelong musical experiences and participation in the creative process. And 4, a citizenry steeped in creativity, excellence, and the ability to navigate differences strengthens our democracy. And orchestras are large groups of people collaborating to inspire audiences through the power of the creative process. Their collective pursuit of high artistic goals in collaboration with cultural and civic partners demonstrates how much humans can achieve when they work together. And the new ideas and sounds that orchestras present help people embrace and understand the unfamiliar. Now, this is a framework. It's not the 10 Commandments. It's not even the 4 Commandments. We invite you to adapt it, to suit to your needs, to let us know what works or doesn't work for you, and to call upon us for support. It's intended as a living document. And you'll no doubt want some time to absorb this and think about it, talk about it back home. I would only point out for now that what I'm sure you've already noticed, that these messages place our orchestras in direct relationship to meeting community and societal needs. To truly fulfill that relationship, we must focus on it throughout our organizations, not just in community engagement departments. And this is a tremendous opportunity to break down the silos and involve many of your constituents and stakeholders. Now, let me be clear, if your orchestra cannot demonstrate how it is living these messages, you should not be using them. But expect to hear many more critiques from donors like the one I heard in Washington. So when we ask ourselves, what shared interests can galvanize us to work together, one answer surely is walking the walk and talking the talk, and that is both playing an authentic civic role and communicating effectively about it. Thank you very much. Enjoy the rest of your morning.